Hey everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins, and this is the Three Star Podcast. And I thought I would just do a quick little video, just me and you discussing tonight's AEW Dynamite show, since we did the whole NXT Night One of Takeover Stand and Deliver with the whole panel. I also watched the AEW Dynamite at the same time as watching NXT, so I was thought I'd just do a little quick one-on-one video with you guys discussing tonight's show as well, so AEW isn't left out. And I think, probably the defender of AEW the most at our panel. But I'm trying to convince the guys it's actually not bad. So there's going to be some good conversations. But anyway, tonight's show started off with Hangman Adam Page versus Max Caster. Um, Obviously, you had a little bit of Caster's partner getting involved a little bit here. But for the most part, it was Adam Hangman Page. It's a showing that you know just basically highlighting him throughout this entire match. And I don't know exactly where they're going with Adam Page. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I like the stuff he's been doing with the Dark Order. It took him a while to actually get him to kind of come around to the idea, but since he left the Elite and was with the Young Bucks, and he's kind of been unsure of himself, and it seems like he's kind of found himself a little bit here after joining the Dark Order. But I don't know what the end game is here. It's like, what are we doing with Adam Hangman Page? Is he going to eventually go for a world title? I'm trying to be patient with it, but he's a great talent, very underutilized. I'm hoping once fans really start to come back, they'll actually strap the rocket to this guy and eventually maybe have him be the one to take the title from Kenny Omega. I think that could be very intriguing, considering the fact that Omega and Hangman actually were teammates at one point. They've wrestled a few times. So I mean, I know it's something they've done already a little bit, but if you could push Hangman a little bit before then, I think it would be, a little bit more rewarding at that point, and hopefully with the fans back, they would get behind him, and it could be an actual very good title change and would push a new star. So that's my hope, but we'll see what they do. After this, we had a segment with the Death Triangle. They come out for an interview with Tony Schiavone, but they quickly got interrupted by the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy and apparently a new member to the Best Friends, Chris Statlander. Um, this is just basically, to me, was setting up what looks to be probably a six-man at some point. I'm not sure all the matches they signed for next week. I know it was during the show, but I was trying to, like I said, watch NXT at the same time for that review. But yeah, this could be a fun six-man, I think. I know AEW gets some criticism, especially from the panel on the whole the whole group there. Sometimes of them being spot fest sometimes, and I totally understand it. But I do enjoy the six-man tags in AEW. The criticism's fair. I'm not going to lie. There are things about the tag matches and the six-mans and the spot fest, but you can say that about any company really having the spot fest. NXT was doing some of that tonight as well in their tag team championship match. But I do think NXT tonight was the better overall show. But I think it's a little unfair to compare tonight's NXT takeover with the standard AEW Dynamite. Two totally different situations. One is a conclusion to a WrestleMania build, so to speak, and the other one is just weekly television. But I fully expect NXT to take the ratings win on the final night when they're on the same night here on Wednesday. But I'll be very happy come next week when NXT moves to Tuesday, because then I'll be able to watch both shows and really get invested in the storylines for both, instead of just kind of having to choose one or the other. But yeah, overall though, I think this segment worked well. Uh, I know I'm looking forward to this match. I think that all the workers in it are pretty good. I know like Orange Cassidy has some detractors as well, but I think when he actually turns it on, he's actually a very good young talent. So uh, Chris Statlander, I do think she still needs some work here and there, but I like the character. I like the gimmick, and I'm glad that she's back. I'm glad that Trent's back, and they're both healthy. And I hate to see the Laredo kid go, though. From what I heard, he went back home. But it should be a fun match now that Pac's healthy again, or at least he appears healthy. They had him out here tonight, so whenever they do that, it could be very fun. After that, we had the Inner Circle coming back out to return to Dynamite after being destroyed by the newly formed Pinnacle. Jericho cut a hell of a promo here. This is one of the best promos I've heard in a while. And of course he teased and basically set up the fact that they're going to do the blood and guts match that they wanted to do last year before the pandemic hit. that they had to put on hold due to fans. Now they scheduled this for May 5th, which is a Wednesday's Dynamite. Which I know they kind of do these Dynamites where it's kind of like pay-per-views that kind of take place in between the big shows that they do about quarterly. So I'm glad to see they're going to do Blood and Guts, but I kind of wonder if maybe they should have waited till the big quarterly show to maybe do this one. But I don't know if their plan is to maybe have more fans in time for that match. I know that's a little less than a month away, so it's not that far off. But either way, I think this blood feud could be very fun. All the guys seem to have chemistry together, and especially when Jericho and the Inner Circle returned last week and destroyed uh, the Pinnacle in the dressing room and all that stuff. I thought a lot of that was done great. It was very well done, and they set up individual feuds too between the members. So if they decide to go that route, they could do it too. But I'll be interested to see how AEW does their version of War Games. I know they've kind of dropped the ball a little bit on, like, say, the barbed wire death match and things like that. But there's been other times where they've done some innovative stuff, like the Stadium Stampede, or I even thought the Arcade Anarchy match last week was pretty good. But and I understand why some people, AEW is not their cup of tea. But personally, I enjoy it, so I'm going to continue to watch AEW. After this, we got a segment backstage with Christian Cage being interviewed or about to be interviewed when Taz walked up, and basically this segment just had Taz. He was trying to recruit Christian Cage to join Team Taz, which would be interesting if he did join. It may be two guys with the last name of Cage on that team, unless Brian Cage splits, which they've teased that could be coming as well. I don't know. Obviously, I don't think Christian Cage is going to join Team Taz. I think it would be an interesting dynamic, but it sounds like he'll probably feud with some members of Team Taz, building up Christian on this roster. Because I don't know if they're. I know they teased Christian going after Kenny Omega on Christian's first night on Dynamite, but I honestly think that they have realized. I don't know if they changed their plan or if it was always their plan to take their time with Christian and build him up properly. And by doing so, get him some wins, get him get the record under his belt, and by the time he actually challenges Omega, if he does, hopefully he'll have some of that ring rust knocked off, and obviously it'll be a little more credible in the win-loss column, because putting him up against Omega right now just doesn't make any sense. So, and Omega's clearly not going to lose the title, I think, anytime in the near future. I mean, it's starting to become a little bit longer of a run, but it's not been that long. So we'll see what they do with that. But after that, we got a tag team match with Bear Country, Bear Boulder and Bear Bronson versus Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. This looked like a lot of fun. From what I saw of it, I didn't get to sit down and watch it all in depth, but there was one spot in particular where Luchasaurus springboarded off the rope to the outside. I thought anytime you can see a big guy like that, go, to that level, is incredible to me. I think Luchasaurus has got a lot of potential. I'd actually like to see him one day get a world title run in AEW. There's a lot of guys in this company I think's got a lot of potential. And Luchasaurus, I know he's got the size and everything, but he's also agile for a guy that size. I sometimes think, he needs to be a little more polished in the ring. He's not 100% perfect at all times. But, I mean, this is a young company, and I know everybody likes to criticize AEW because, they have some botches or some missed spots. But you got to understand, this company also has only been around for, I believe, 2 years or less, and probably on TV for just a little over a year now. And they don't have all these shows throughout the week like you say WWE used to have, where they have these house shows. Now they do have Darks, which I think is the whole reason they have the Dark Elevation and the Dark show on YouTube, to get these guys and some of these great wrestlers some experience to flesh out their skills, and hopefully within the next year or whatever, some of these talents can actually become more, I don't know, less green, or whatever you want to call it, to where they're ready to shine on the big stage. And the way this talent is, or this roster is expanding, I know AEW had said they'd had plans to add another hour of television. That did not include the dark show. So they definitely have enough roster, space to, contribute to a second show. And I think if they were to do that at some point, I want to say I heard maybe by the end of this year they were talking about it, but I could be wrong. But if they do, I think it'll be good to get these talents experience. So after, oh, by the way, Jurassic Express won this match to finish out the tag match here. After that, we got the second best promo of the night in a segment that was pre-taped with QT Marshall. He was basically sitting in the Nightmare Factory, looks like their gym or their trading facility there, and he basically said, he is the factory now. I love this. I thought, he basically even called Cody, quote, a bargain brand sting, which I kind of got a chuckle at. And then he introduced his three fellow teammates, Aaron Solo, Camarado, and Agogo, which we saw beat up the Nightmare Family or the Nightmare Factory or whatever you want to call Cody's group last week. Again, this is another thing with AEW. They've got a lot of factions, and I know it's a heavy criticism of them right now. But I do think there's potential to use these factions in constructive ways. And one of those is to take young talents like these three, put them with QT, who already has a stemming relationship and a feud with Cody and Arn and Dustin and all the Nightmare Factory. And if they can do this right, I don't know if they're going to do this thing maybe at Blood and Guts to where maybe they have all the factions, who are feuding right now. Maybe have a night full of factions matches. That could be an idea. I don't know if that's where they're going to go, but I think it's definitely got possibilities. Everybody just needs to wait. Yeah, I know a lot of times wait and see in professional wrestling, especially sometimes with WWE storytelling. We can already tell sometimes it's going to be garbage. In this case, I'm not so sure yet because you got to remember New Japan Pro Wrestling had lots of factions, and it was very popular, still is very popular. And a lot of these guys who work for AEW have come from there, so they may be just trying to integrate a little bit of that into their shows. And if that's the case, it could very well pay off for them. We'll just have to wait and see. Uh, After this, we got yet another. I'll criticize this. Another segment where Tony Schiavone was supposed to interview Sting. Look, I love Sting. I respect the crap out of Sting. He's had a long, amazing career. Um, I don't know. I mean, yes, he's got name brand value, and he's going to bring in eyeballs to this company, and I think that's a good thing. Now, I don't want this to become TNA of old or Impact of old, where all you do is bring in the old guys and just completely let them run the hen house. But the guys they seem to be bringing in who are of age, like Sting, Christian Cage, you know, there's probably some other like your big shows or whatever. They do bring them in for their name value, but so far they've not. Jericho's another. Outside of him, Jericho, who did win the world title, the first world title, which I get because they were a budding company. You get a name brand or a name value to win the first world title to get eyes on your product. I get it. But the other, older talent, they've not really put them in main event level feuds yet. Like I said, Jericho's the one exception, but I understand why for good reason. But these other guys, they seem to be using to build some younger guys, or at least put them in feuds with younger guys to get them over and to develop their younger talent. So for that, I highly respect what AEW is doing because they also, I think they seem to understand it is about the future instead of bringing back guys like Goldberg or things like that. Some guys past their prime using Undertaker every year at WrestleMania. Which don't get me wrong, I again respect the hell out of those guys, but there comes a time where you do have to eventually hang it up. And we've only seen Sting in one match. It was a cinematic match, and clearly, he may not even been doing half the the falls or the stunt work because with face paint, it's easy to put a stunt double in and things like that. So I just feel like they, in long term, I think what they're doing with the older guys may pay off. So I'm gonna wait and see how they do on that. But I like during this segment, Lance Archer come out again, and basically they're teasing a fight between the two. But I don't know where they're going to go with this. I don't. Obviously, I think this is an attempt to get Lance Archer over with Sting giving him the rub. But I don't know exactly, what you do here. Do you do another cinematic match with Sting? I mean, you could do like a street fight type thing where you could do a lot of smoke and mirrors to hide some of Sting's uh, weaknesses at this point at his age. I think he did just turn 62, I believe, which is very old for a wrestler to be in the ring much at all. Um, but I mean, Sting looks great for his age, and he took that power bomb a few weeks ago like a champ. Uh, but I just don't know where this is going to go. Obviously, it's leading somewhere, but again, it's just kind of I don't know. I kind of want to wait and see, but as long as this doesn't become the Sting show, but again, you got to get away from these constant interview segments with Sting. We got to do something different because this has been almost every week since he's debuted, and that's got to stop. I mean, I think most AEW fans are probably going to start to get sick of that pretty soon. Um, After that, we had another segment with Team Taz in the back, talking like Christian. We got Christian on the table. He might join us, but it wasn't a big segment really. Then we had a singles match for the TNT Championship. Darby Allin defending against a Dynamite debuting JD Drake. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, a lot of this was your typical, Darby Allin, just killing himself, throwing himself around the ring, and just but there was a spot in this match that I thought was really cool that JD Drake, I believe he jumped off the middle rope and he hit Darby Allin with a flying leg drop, and it just folded Darby completely in half. And I thought that was actually a really cool spot. But in the end, Darby Allin does retain his TNT Championship, and this it was an okay match other than that. But this is clearly just to give Darby some wins here, build him up, and they're obviously going to do uh, the Matt Hardy match next week. I believe they did say for the TNT Championship. And earlier, I forgot to mention uh, Hardy's faction came out during the best friends segment with uh, the Death Triangle, and they attacked Orange or the best friends and stuff, and then the buddy got involved and was going to clear off the announce table, which would be interesting because if I noticed that when she called to have the announce table cleared off, they didn't do it, but it's interesting. They've never put anybody through an announce table on AEW that I can recall. Well, maybe once, but it's been few. Uh, I think somebody dove over the announce table once, but I don't know if they actually put them through. But during the scuffle, Ty Conti got involved as the Dark Order come out to make the save, uh, and so that was kind of a prelude of things to come tonight. Next up, after the Derby match, excuse me, was the segment with the Pinnacle attacking Jericho in the back, and then they drug him to the ring. It looked like they were about ready to throw him, through a table or something on the outside. And went out of nowhere, he was announced on Twitter earlier today that he was going to be there. I think as a distraction, like, hey, we're over here. NXT Night One Takeover is going on, but hey, we've got a show too. Here comes Iron Mike Tyson, comes out and makes the save for Chris Jericho. Okay. I mean, the last time we saw Tyson, he was here falling asleep at ringside and was, in a feud with Jericho, so to speak. Um, Now, maybe I'm missing something here, but a mutual respect thing might have broken. I don't know. But he come out here and make the save for Jericho because the Pinnacle had locked the rest of the Inner Circle in the back. So and Tyson was giving these shots to Sean Spears. I mean, clearly tried not to hurt him, but I mean, Tyson looked good for a guy his age, and he's definitely in fighting shape. And apparently, I guess they announced next week a match. I can't remember who the participants were off the top of my head, but I guess Iron Mike Tyson will be the special ring enforcer. I think it was one of the FTR members. Oh gosh, versus one of anyway, it was one of the two from the factions there. But yeah, they're going to pull a WrestleMania 14. Looks like and have Iron Mike be a special enforcer. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll get a little more clarity on why he helped Jericho. So I mean, we don't always have to have things answered the week of. The thing about slow building in wrestling is let it get marinate, let it simmer, let the fans talk about it, let it simmer, and let them speculate, and we'll see what they do. After this, we had the Bunny versus Ty Conti that they alluded to earlier. Um, okay, match. That is the one criticism of AEW right now that their women's division needs some work. But you could say that I think about WWE too. That there's a few stellar talents on WWE like Sasha Banks or I mean Charlotte's a good talent even though she has her moments rough. But you got like your Nia Jaxes. You've got some wrestlers who I don't think are ready for the main roster either, but they're there, and their roster isn't real deep. Now AEW's got a deep enough women's roster. I think at times they've had some girls come and go. Maybe not completely signed with the company, and some of them are in Japan. And some things with the pandemic, it's kind of hard to get some of these ladies in the States full time. So I'm hoping once some of this stuff with the pandemic clears up, maybe the women's division will get better. But I will say, Britt Baker though has improved drastically. Thunder Rosa coming over from NWA has been a big improvement and a big help. And clearly, at the end of this match, Ty Conti wins after the Bunny tried to steal the kendo stick from Hikaru Shida, who was at ringside, and she tried to attack Hikaru Shida with the stick. No, I'm sorry, she tried to attack Tai Conti with the stick, but then Hikaru Shida stole it from her, and that's when Tai Conti took advantage and won the match. Clearly, this is setting. It looked like it was setting up. I mean, you could do Tai Conti versus Hikaru Shida, I think, because they've been building Tai Conti a bit. I think she lost last week, which I didn't quite understand, but she's been improving a bit too. I think the Bunny did a good job of putting her over here, and we'll see where they go with the women's division moving forward. Next up was the main event of the evening. Was John Moxley and the Young Bucks in a six-man tag against Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. Clearly, AEW loves their six-man tags so much so. I do think I'm not a big proponent of AEW adding a bunch of championships to their show. I think WWE and has way too many titles. I know they do like different divisions for each show, but to me, they could condense those down a little bit, especially in their tag division and their women's division. It's like if you merge those divisions, I think they'd be more reputable. But in AEW's case, they've got the world title, you got the TNT title, the women's, and the tag. Uh, I do think that I don't think they need to be adding a women's tag anytime soon, but I do think that adding a six-man tag team title could be good, and rumor has it that that may be coming since they do like to do these matches often. So it would make some sense anyway to have a six-man division or a three-man team or whatever. But anyway, this match was pretty entertaining. Again, kind of spot festy for AEW. But a lot of the story in this match was the story they've been telling after the Young Bucks broke away, from the Elite, and Kenny went his own way, Hangman kind of went his own way, and it's kind of been the Young Bucks like kind of not knowing where they're going a little bit, and like Kenny's kind of wanted them to join doing the Too Sweet, and you know they've been reluctant to join him based on his actions, especially Matt Jackson. Uh, Nick has been more sure about not getting involved, or just kind of doing his own thing. I think for the most part, but Matt's been the conflicted one more. And in this match, there was opportunities for Matt to take out Kenny Omega, and he didn't do it. And got to a point in the match where even Nick was kind of looking at him like, "Hey, we're in a match. We need to win this." And Matt was still struggling with it, just wouldn't do it. Then at that point, John Moxley got involved, and he's basically butting heads with the Bucks, and like if you ain't going to do it, I'm going to take him out. And so he starts doing the Moxley DDT and just chokes, put him in a chokehold, and basically looking at the Bucks like, what are you guys doing? And it was at that point the Bucks turned on Moxley and they kicked him in the square in the head when he had the match probably won to beat Kenny Omega. And the ending of the show basically saw Kenny Omega pinning Moxley uh, after he was taken out by the Bucks, and it looks like they finally pulled the. I mean, they've been teasing it and teasing it and teasing it, but the way they were selling it at the end of the show, that the Young Bucks finally have joined and have resolved that they are joining Moxley and the Good Brothers, and they're going to be a yet another faction for the looks of it. So I understand there is a lot of factions, but I'm just kind of wanting to know what they're doing. We'll see. But of course, Kenny Kingston or Eddie Kingston, I'm sorry, came out to make the save, and of course, got beat down. He hobbled out there. He wasn't 100%, and we go off the show with a big group hug, with the Young Bucks embracing Kitty and the Good Brothers and Don Callis, and that's the way the show goes off the air. Um, so yeah, that's my thoughts on AEW Dynamite. I thought it was overall a pretty good show. It had some things that I wasn't so fond of, but again, at this point, I'm trying to give AEW the benefit of the doubt as a fan. It takes time. This company, a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, they're WCW light or they're Impact light." I don't know if I go that far. I like the show. I'm highly entertained. And the things I always say about AEW is, to me, at least their booking decisions and their stories are a lot more, logical for the most part. Sometimes they jump a little bit from feud to feud. You end one and you maybe start another one for not very good reasons. But I think for the most part, when you're telling the stories, you're not pinning the wrong person each week. You're not telling the same exact story in three different feuds. You have different matches that have different styles throughout the show. So this show, AEW has its bright spots, and I really wish a lot more people would give AEW a chance. I'm hoping that now that NXT has moved to Tuesday, maybe more eyeballs will get on AEW on Wednesday night and on NXT. Both shows deserve a lot more than the ratings they were getting when they were competing on the same night. So I have high hopes for this switch after WrestleMania. So that's my plea to the world and the audience out there to give AEW a shot. It's not as bad as people think if you just allow yourself to let it wash over you a little bit. But what did you guys think of AEW Dynamite this week? Comment down below, like and subscribe to the 3 Star Podcast. Also, you can find me on my own YouTube channel. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Gel, Jel, Gel with a J. And you can also search for me on YouTube at just look for Eric Hopkins or you search YouTube Eric Gel. And I do my own podcast over there and trailer reactions and movie reviews and things like that. So until next time, thanks for watching.